Believer that content of those setting the agenda is shaped by the context of those setting it. So I'll start with my context, because my context begins on a college campus located 64 miles to the south from the Vatican City of North American merchandising, known throughout Minnesota and beyond as the Mall of America. Isn't that the most pretentious title of a place you've ever heard in your life? The Mall of America. It can be more accurately described as the sacred cathedral of commerce. The Mall of America, a holy land of retail. From trendy stores to posh and prim cafes, gargantuan amusement rides, all of which charge no sales tax of any kind. A super shopping center filled with strange resident slang of the North, such as oofta, I heard one of those today. Don't you know and you betcha, all melodically mixed with the voracious vernacular of visitors far and wide. A massive mall with 500 stores covered across 4 miles of storefront footage, located within 5 million square feet of gross building area. A monstrous mecca of the marketplace, which receives tens of millions of visitors each year and in doing so generates billions of dollars in annual revenue. This so-called Minnesota mega mall is a prosperous and popular place for a plethora of people. And it's not difficult to discern why. Because these seductive sights, these soothing sounds, these sensational smells of this striking sales synagogue. A couple more S words. They sink into our spirit, which is why the Mall of America is a religious site for many. With its symbols and rituals, with its passionate pilgrims seeking to fill a hole in their souls, with its high priests that build and protect their temple at all costs, and with its devout adherents paying homage to their ultimate concerns through a liturgical rhythm of purchase and sale. The Mall of America is an allegory of modern-day popular religion. For the mega mall represents the means by which production and consumption has become our worship, because gross domestic product has become our God, and therefore economism has become our religion. Economism, a term used by numerous social theorists across the generations, is our religion in this country. Theologian John Cobb wrote at the turn of our current century that this commitment to the creeds of economism encourages people to believe that economic growth will directly solve any and all of the world's most pressing problems. They'll provide the resources needed to pursue any and all of our most important values. In other words, the dogmas of economism require that the structures and systems that we set as stewards of God's household are all designed in such a way that our faithfulness is judged primarily on our contributions to gross domestic product, as if our salvation is somehow determined by the divine-like desires of the so-called invisible hand of the marketplace. And the result of it all is that both people and the planet cry out. Because of our faithfulness to the creeds of economism in this country, people and the planet cry out. Because of our faithfulness to our most popular religion, 1/4 of the globe does not have electricity, 1 billion people don't have access to clean water. Billions live on little, and the gap between rich and poor widens with each passing day. People of this planet cry out. But so does the planet itself. Because of our religious-like devotion to economism, the planet cries out, for what we now know is that there is no debate And it is not a coincidence that those most faithful to economism are those that want to stir up that there is a debate. There is no debate. So to ask the Lutheran question, I wonder, so what does it mean, and so how do we live? Because there seems to be disagreement upon those with actually really good intentions, something I mentioned in our chapel just a few days ago. On the one hand, we have what I would call the brown agenda. The mud and the dirt of poverty. Those with goodwill that want to raise people out of poverty because they hear the cries of those in poverty. And then we also have the green agenda in environmental sustainability. And so we have this brown agenda. It concerns economic opportunity, alleviation of poverty, those that hear this call to help those in need on the margins, if you will. And we know that this brown agenda is important, it's urgent, and it's worthy of support. But then we have this green agenda that relates to environmental sustainability, which is also important, urgent, and worthy of support. Both brown and green. But what we find is that those committed to one are often at conflict with the other. And the high priests of economism smile in the midst of it all. Far too many with the brown agenda believe that the best way to reduce poverty is to reduce environmental controls and grow ourselves out of the problem. On the contrary, those engaged with the green agenda too often ignore the deep and urgent struggles of daily life for the extreme poor around the world. And as a result of this persistent struggle between brown and green, far too many with good intentions are left with far too little impact. Progress on both agendas becomes limited, and our communal path towards authentic sustainability is left off course. Our dualistic either-or thinking leaves us with neither nor results. But I would argue that there is a path forward. I tell people my absolute favorite word in the entire Lutheran tradition is the word "and." In an either-or world, we can have both and. Instead of green or brown, we can have both green and brown. In recognition of this tussle between economic opportunity and environmental sustainability, we can have both and. For ultimately, we recognize that the brown agenda of economics and the green agenda of ecology are related. They're both about the oikos. It's not just Greek yogurt, you know. The earth. The household of God. Some fun etymology here. Ecology, oikos logos, means the wisdom of how a home functions. And economy, as oikos nomos, is about the rules of the house. So they are essentially two sides of the same coin. So if we want to bring green and brown together, as my 4-year-old would show me, it creates olive. So why not an olive agenda? One that combines green and brown and provides a metaphor for peace, an olive branch for a path forward. Rooted in an understanding that although our current economic system has provided some contributions, its logic is fundamentally flawed. And that people of ecology must speak about economics. As the priorities of boundless production, overconsumption, and unlimited growth works directly against the wisdom of the house. I'll quote David Loy, a Zen teacher who was here this past week on campus, a wonderful quote. He said, "How can more always be better if it is never enough?" So while both brown and green agendas are fundamentally right, taken in isolation, each is tragically wrong. And thus we must integrate our economic structures into the wisdom of the household. To me, there is absolutely no other way. So we stand at a crossroads, and in doing so, in the midst of our despair, we remind ourselves that in faith we are prisoners of hope. as people seeking to love others as